Are you struggling to prepare for the math part of the WU BBE entrance exam and not sure what to expect? Then let me help you out and walk you through the main types of tasks you might expect to come up on that part of the entrance exam. So of course, it's the math part and it has 13 topics and you will have one question per topic, but what are the questions, like what are you going to be asked, in what way you're going to be asked that? And I will walk you through that while showing examples from my course and exam simulation that I made for my students to practice based on all the previous students' feedbacks and reviews. So let's get started. The first type of task is where you calculate a lot. So those would be elementary algebra tasks, inequalities tasks, and equation tasks. That's the type of task where you don't really have to think of a scenario or think of interpreting words, but you really just have to look at the equation and solve it by plugging in numbers, by taking notes on the online notepad that you have available to you. And this type of tasks are pretty straightforward, but they will take you a lot of time to solve. So you might think elementary algebra like a high school material, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy, 2 + 2 is equal to 4. But no, unfortunately, those type of tasks are your not false friends, like the topic is familiar to most of you. That's why it might be called, oh, it's just so easy, I'll just skip the topic. No, please practice it, because like on this task that I'm showing you right now, this is not such an easy task to solve, especially given the time limit and given the fact that you cannot use a pen and paper. So yeah, be aware of those. The second type of task would be where you have to read a lot. So those tasks, the equations to solving them would be okay-ish, but the problem is arriving at those equations. So the problem is interpreting the words that are given to you, and there will be many, many words. It's going to be like a mini scenario-based task. And you have to interpret it into an equation that's right and that's kind of correct, and then you have to solve the equation, and you still have to solve it also correctly. You guessed it. So yeah, the main thing here is really practicing those type of tasks, because many people from high school, they're more used to calculations, but they're not used to kind of scenarios and words and kind of more of applied maths topics. So yeah. And the third type of task would be where you have to look and think a lot. So those would be graphical tasks. So those are nice because they're shorter, like they take you less time to solve, because if it's a graph and you have statements about the graph, you don't have to calculate much. It takes you much less time compared to, let's say, an inequalities task. So in those tasks, you really have to be super attentive to what the graph is of. Is it the graph of the original function, the first derivative, the second derivative, and so on and so forth? And those are usually nicer, and when you look at them and when you're kind of going through the questions just to estimate how much time they will take you, you might start with them. Some people prefer those because, well, they take you less time. They're kind of more, yeah, the calculations, they're not that hard. Or also, you might have also a function task, but instead of a graph, you have just a function in the written form.